Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the TDF Dauntless, watching the stars drift past through the main viewport. The Terran Defense Fleet had been patrolling the Outer Rim for 3 months now, and nothing interesting had happened. Just empty. Space, routine scans, and the occasional asteroid field to navigate around. "Captain," called Commander Park Soo from the communication station. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Lee Hyun walked over to Park's station. The screens showed waves of electromagnetic signals coming from deep space. The patterns were unlike anything in Earth's databases. "What do you think it is?" Hyun asked. Park frowned at his instruments. "It looks like a distress signal, sir, but the language is completely alien. I've never seen anything like these transmission patterns." Lieutenant Kim Day looked up from her tactical station. "Sir, the signal is coming from near the Vorthon Nebula. That area is marked as dangerous on our star charts. High radiation levels and electromagnetic storms." Hyun nodded. The Vorthon Nebula was known throughout human space as a place to avoid. Ships that went in rarely came out, and those that did reported strange readings and equipment failures. Most captains gave it a wide berth. "Can you clean up the signal?" Hyun asked Park. Park's fingers flew over his console. "I'm trying, sir. The transmission is very weak and there's a lot of interference." He paused, listening to something through his headset. "Wait, I think I'm getting something." The bridge speakers crackled to life. A high-pitched musical voice filled the air, speaking in a language none of them recognized. The tone was desperate, frightened. Even without understanding the words, everyone could hear the panic. "There's fear in that voice," said Dr. Yoon-na, the ship's science officer. She had come up from her lab when she heard about the transmission. "Whatever they are, they're in serious trouble." Park worked frantically at his station. "I'm running the signal through our translation programs, but it's going to take time. The language structure is completely different from anything we know." "How long?" Hyun asked. "Maybe an hour to get basic meaning. Full translation could take days." The alien voice continued to broadcast, growing weaker with each repetition. Then suddenly, it cut to static. "Did we lose them?" Hyun asked. Park checked his equipment. "The transmission stopped, sir, but I did manage to extract coordinates before it went dead." He looked up at the captain. "They're definitely in the Vorthon Nebula." Kim Day shook her head. "Sir, we can't go in there. Fleet regulations specifically forbid entering that nebula without special authorization. The radiation levels alone could kill us." "And even if we survive the radiation," added Navigator Choi Min, "the electromagnetic storms make navigation almost impossible. We could get lost in there and never find our way out." Hyun stared at the star charts on the main screen. The Vorthon Nebula was a swirling mass of gas and energy, colored in dangerous shades of red and purple. It looked like a cosmic storm that had been raging for thousands of years. "Sir," Park said quietly, "I managed to translate a few words from the transmission. They said, 'help' and 'dying' multiple times. Whatever species sent that signal, they're not going to last much longer." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the rules about the nebula, but they also knew something else about humans. Throughout Earth's history, when someone called for help, humans answered. It didn't matter if it was dangerous or if the person asking for help was a stranger or even an enemy. Humans had a reputation for running toward danger when someone needed saving. "Captain," said Dr. Yoon-na, "we're the only ship in this sector. If we don't help them, no one will." Engineer Bay Rin's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I've been monitoring our systems. The Dauntless can handle more radiation than most ships. We're built tough. Hyun looked around at his crew. He saw determination in their faces, mixed with worry. They all knew this was dangerous, but they also knew it was the right thing to do. "Kim, what other ships do we have in the area?" he asked. "The destroyer Vigilant and the frigate Resolute are about 6 hours behind us, sir. They're part of our patrol group. Signal them to follow us to the nebula. Tell them to prepare for high radiation operations." Hyun turned to Choi Min. "Plot. A course for those coordinates. Take us in slowly and carefully." "Sir," Kim Dae said, "I feel I should remind you that this violates fleet regulations. We could all face court-martial for this." Hyun smiled grimly. "Lieutenant, someone out there is dying, and they asked for help. I don't care about regulations. We're going in." The crew exchanged glances. This was why they served under Captain Lee Hyun. He was the kind of officer who put doing the right thing above following rules. "All hands, this is the captain," Hyun announced over the ship's intercom. "We've received a distress signal from inside the Vorthan Nebula. We're going in to help. I won't lie to you. This is dangerous. The radiation levels are high, and we don't know what we'll find in there. But someone called for help, and humans don't leave people to die alone." "All departments prepare for emergency operations. Medical teams stand by for possible alien casualties. Engineering, boost our radiation shielding. Marines, prepare for possible hostile contact. We don't know what attacked whoever sent that signal." The ship hummed with activity as the crew prepared for the mission. The Dauntless was a powerful warship, built for combat and exploration in dangerous areas of space. If any human ship could survive the nebula, it was this one. As they approached the edge of the Vorthan Nebula, the stars began to fade, replaced by swirling clouds of gas and energy. Lightning-like discharges crackled between the gas clouds, and the ship's radiation detectors started beeping warnings. "Radiation levels rising," reported Dr. Yoon Na. "Still within acceptable limits for humans, but most other species couldn't survive this." Park looked up from his station. "Sir, I'm still picking up traces of that distress signal. It's very weak, but it's coming from deep inside the nebula." "Then that's where we're going," Hyun said. "Take us in, Choi. Nice and steady." The Dauntless entered the Vorthan Nebula, its hull glowing faintly from the radiation. Behind them, space disappeared into a wall of swirling energy. Ahead lay the unknown, and somewhere in that dangerous maze of gas and lightning, someone was waiting for rescue. The Dauntless moved through the Vorthan Nebula like a ghost ship sailing through a storm of light and energy. Purple and red gas clouds swirled around them, lit by constant flashes of what looked like lightning. The ship's hull groaned under the pressure of electromagnetic forces that would have torn apart most vessels. "Radiation levels are now at twice normal space background," Dr. Yoon Na reported from her science station. "Still safe for humans, but any species with lower radiation tolerance would be in serious trouble." Captain Lee Hyun nodded, watching the swirling chaos outside. "How are our systems holding up?" Engineer Bae Rin's voice came through the intercom. "All systems green, Captain. The hull is absorbing a lot of energy, but we're built for this kind of punishment. Most alien ships aren't." Commander Park Soo looked up from his instruments. "Sir, I'm getting stronger traces of that distress signal, but there's something else. I'm detecting debris fields scattered throughout this area." "Debris from what?" Hyun asked. "Unknown, sir. The metal composition doesn't match anything in our databases, but the scatter pattern suggests a battle happened here recently. Lieutenant Kim Dae ran scans on the debris. Captain, I'm reading energy signatures consistent with weapons fire. Multiple ships were destroyed here and not long ago. Navigator Choi Min guided the ship through a particularly dense cloud of gas. Sir, whatever attacked those ships might still be in the area. Stay alert, Hyun ordered, but keep following that signal. Someone out there needs help. The Dauntless pushed deeper into the nebula. The electromagnetic storms grew stronger, causing the lights on the bridge to flicker, occasionally. But the human-built ship pressed on, its systems designed to handle conditions that would disable most other vessels. Contact! Park suddenly called out. I've got a ship on sensors bearing 27 Mark V. It's badly damaged and drifting. On. Screen, Hyun ordered. The main viewer showed a vessel unlike anything in Earth's databases. It was made of what looked like crystal, with smooth, curved surfaces that reflected the nebula's chaotic light. The ship was beautiful, but clearly dying. Cracks ran along its hull, and several sections were completely dark. It's definitely alien, Dr. Yoon Na said, studying the readings. The hull material appears to be some kind of living crystal. I've never seen anything like it. Life signs? Hyun asked. Park worked his instruments. Faint, but yes. I'm reading at least 12 life forms aboard that ship. Their life support is failing. Can we dock with them? Bayrin studied the alien ship's design. Not directly, sir. Their docking ports don't match ours. But we could use the cargo bay and extend a docking tube. Do it, Hyun ordered. Kim, deploy a security team to the cargo bay, but tell them to keep their weapons lowered. We're here. To help, not threaten. Yoon, prepare the medical bay for possible alien casualties. The Dauntless carefully maneuvered alongside the crystal ship. The alien vessel was much smaller than the human warship, maybe a quarter the size. It looked more like a research vessel than a military ship. Docking tube extended and sealed, Bay Rin reported. Atmosphere is compatible. The aliens breathe a nitrogen-oxygen mix similar to ours, just with different ratios. Marine Captain Jang Ho's voice came over the comm. Security team in position, sir. We're ready to board. Remember, Hyun said, we're the first humans these aliens have ever seen. Let's make a good impression. The security team entered the alien ship carefully. The interior was as beautiful as the exterior, with walls that seemed to glow with their own light. But the damage was severe. Many of the crystalline control panels were cracked or completely shattered. This is Jong, the Marine captain reported. The aliens are in what looks like their bridge. They're scared, sir. Really scared. Of us? I think so. They've heard of humans, and they're not sure if we're here to help or hurt them. Hyun frowned. Earth had been isolated from galactic civilization for decades. Most alien species knew humans only by reputation, and that reputation wasn't always good. Humans were known as aggressive, violent deathworlders who came from a planet that would kill most other species. Tell them we're here to help, Hyun said. No sudden movements and keep your weapons holstered. Dr. Yoon Na grabbed her medical kit and headed for the docking tube. I'm going over there. They might have injured crew members. On the alien ship, Captain Jang Ho approached the bridge carefully. The aliens were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the crystal ship's strange light. They had large eyes and delicate features, and they were clearly terrified. One of them, wearing what looked like a science uniform, stepped forward nervously. It spoke in the same musical language they had heard in the distress signal. Anyone got the translation working yet? Jang asked into his comm. Commander Park's voice came back. Working on it, sir. I think I can manage basic concepts now. The alien spoke again, and this time Park's translation came through the comm system. They're saying, "Please don't hurt us," and asking why we're here. Jang slowly removed his helmet, showing his human face. "Tell them we received their distress signal. We came to help," Park translated, and the aliens' reaction was immediate. Their large eyes grew even wider, and they began talking excitedly among themselves. "What are they saying?" Jang asked. "They can't believe we came," Park translated. "They're saying no one answers distress calls in this part of space. It's too dangerous. They're asking why humans would risk their lives for strangers." Dr. Yoon Na arrived on the bridge with her medical equipment. The aliens backed away from her at first, clearly frightened by the human's presence. But when she knelt beside an injured alien and began treating its wounds, their fear started to change to amazement. The alien who seemed to be in charge spoke to Park through the translation system. "I am Veltar, chief scientist of the research vessel Starweaver. We were studying the ancient ruins in this nebula when we were attacked." "Attacked by who?" Hyun asked from the Dauntless. "The Korthak swarm," Veltar replied, and even through the translation, the fear in his voice was clear. "They came without warning, destroyed our escort ships. We barely escaped into the nebula, but our ship was damaged. We sent the distress signal, but we knew no one would come. This region is too dangerous." "Well, we're here now," Hyun said. "Can your ship fly?" Veltar looked around at the damaged bridge. "Our main engines are destroyed. Life support is failing. We have perhaps 6 hours of air remaining." "Then we'd better get you off that ship," Hyun said. "Prepare for evacuation." As the human crew began helping the aliens evacuate their dying ship, Veltar approached Captain Jang Ho. Through the translator, he said, "I must ask, why did you come? Humans are known throughout the galaxy as dangerous, as killers. Yet you risked your lives to save us. Why?" Jang Ho thought for a moment, then said, "Because someone called for help. That's what humans do. We answer the call." Veltar stared at him with those large alien eyes. "Even for strangers? Even for aliens you've never met?" "Especially for strangers," Jang Ho replied. "Anyone can help their friends. It takes courage to help someone you don't know." As the last of the aliens were brought aboard the Dauntless, Veltar looked back at his dying ship one more time. Then, he turned to the humans who had saved them and realized that everything his people had heard about the dangerous Deathworlders might be wrong. The rescued aliens sat in the Dauntless conference room, still nervous but no longer terrified. Dr. Yoon Na had treated their injuries, and Engineer Bei Rin had provided them with food that their digestive systems could handle. The humans were being as gentle and helpful as possible, which clearly confused the aliens. Veltar, the Volani scientist, looked around the room with wonder. "Your ship is built for war," he said through the translation system Commander Park had set up. "Yet you use it to save lives. This is not what we expected from humans." Captain Lee Hyun sat across from Veltar, trying to appear non-threatening. "What did you expect?" "Death," Veltar said simply. "Humans are known as the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Your home planet would kill most other life forms within hours. You evolved in conditions that would be torture for us. We thought, if humans ever left their world, they would conquer everything they found." Lieutenant Kim Dae shook her head. "We're not conquerors. We're explorers. But you carry weapons," another Volani observed, pointing at the Marines standing guard outside the conference room. "For defense," Hyun explained. "You said you were attacked by something called the Korthak swarm. We need to be ready in case they're still in the area." Veltar's pale blue skin seemed to grow even paler at the mention of the Korthak. You do not understand. The Korthak are not just raiders or pirates. They are a hive mind that consumes technology and flesh alike. They have destroyed entire civilizations. Dr. Yuna leaned forward, interested. A hive mind? Like insects? Worse, Veltar said. They were once individual beings, but they gave up their separate thoughts to become part of something larger. Now they exist only to consume and grow. Their ships are alive, grown rather than built. They can adapt to any weapon, any defense. What were you doing in this nebula? Hyun asked. Why were you here? Veltar hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. We were studying ruins on a dead planet deep in the nebula. Ancient structures, left by a species that vanished millions of years ago. We found something disturbing. What kind of disturbing? Engineer Bayrin asked. Star charts, Veltar said quietly. Maps showing the locations of inhabited worlds throughout this part of the galaxy. The Korthak found us studying them. If they have those coordinates now, the implications hit everyone in the room at the same time. The Korthak swarm now had a roadmap to every inhabited system in the sector. How many worlds are we talking about? Hyun asked. 47 inhabited systems, Veltar replied. Billions of lives. Marine Captain Jang Ho entered the conference room. Sir, we've got movement on the long-range sensors. Multiple contacts heading this way. The Korthak? Kim Dae asked. Unknown, but they're big. Really big. Hyun stood up. All right, people. Looks like we're about to meet these Korthak face-to-face. He turned to Veltar. I need you to tell me everything you know about their ships. And weapons. Veltar's large eyes were filled with fear. Captain, you do not understand. No one fights the Korthak and survives. Every species that has encountered them either flees or gets consumed. There is no third option. Then we'll make one, Hyun said grimly. The bridge of the Dauntless was buzzing with activity as the crew prepared for battle. The alien ship designs were unlike anything in Earth's combat databases, but the humans were adapting quickly. 6. Contacts on approach, reported Park from sensors. They're moving through the nebula like the radiation doesn't affect them at all. Because it doesn't, Veltar explained. He had been brought to the bridge to help identify the enemy ships. The Korthak bioships grow in high radiation environments. This nebula is like a garden to them. Bioships? Hyun asked. Living vessels. They can heal damage, adapt to new threats, even reproduce if given enough resources. On the main screen, the approaching ships became visible. They looked nothing like human or Vellani vessels. The Korthak ships were dark, organic-looking things that seemed to pulse with their own life. They moved through space like predators swimming through water. They're trying to communicate, Park reported. It's not a language. It's more like telepathic noise. I can barely understand it, but I think they're demanding we surrender the food units. Food units? Dr. Yoon-na asked. Veltar translated grimly. Us. They're demanding you hand us over so they can consume us. That's not happening, Hyun said flatly. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. The Dauntless shuddered as its weapon systems came online. The destroyer Vigilant and frigate Resolute had finally caught up and were taking positions on either side of the flagship. Incoming transmission from Vigilant, Park reported. Put it through. Captain Song Yu's voice came over the comm. Hyun, what's our situation? Hostile aliens demanding we hand over refugees. We're going to politely decline their request. Copy that. Weapons hot and ready. The Korthak ships moved closer, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. They were trying to surround the human fleet. They're testing us, Veltar observed. Probing our defenses. This is how they always begin. Then let's give them something to probe, Hyun said. Kim, target the lead ship, fire a warning shot across their bow. Sir, they don't have a bow. They don't really have a front or back. Then, shoot near them. Let them know we're armed. The Dauntless fired a single plasma bolt that passed close to the lead Korthak ship. The biovessel's response was immediate and terrifying. Its hull split open like a flower, revealing rows of organic weapons that began charging with crackling energy. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Hyun ordered. The space battle began with a fury that shocked the watching Vellani. The Korthak fired streams of living plasma that tracked their targets like hunting animals. But the human ships moved with a precision and aggression that the aliens had never seen before. The Dauntless rolled and dove through the nebula's gas clouds, using the electromagnetic storms as cover. Captain Song Yu led her destroyer in a direct assault on the largest Korthak ship, firing everything she had. Their hulls are adapting, Kim Day reported. The armor is shifting to absorb our plasma fire. Then we changed tactics, Hyun said. Switched to kinetic rounds, old-fashioned bullets. The human ships began firing solid projectiles instead of energy weapons. The Korthak bioships, adapted to energy-based attacks, were caught off guard. Shells punched through their organic armor, causing dark fluid to leak into space. But the Korthak were learning too. Their ships began to move differently, anticipating human tactics. One of them launched what looked like a cloud of spores toward the frigate Resolute. Resolute, get out. Of there, Hyun ordered. But Captain Oh-jin was already moving, spinning his ship to avoid the biological attack. The spores passed harmlessly through empty space, seeking targets that were no longer there. These humans fight like demons, one of the Vellani whispered to Veltar. No, Veltar replied, watching the battle in amazement. They fight like humans. And that might be something the Korthak have never faced before. The battle raged through the nebula, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. But something was becoming clear to both the Korthak and the Vellani watching. The humans were not running. They were not surrendering. They were fighting with a determination and creativity that was completely unexpected. And for the first time in the Korthak swarm's long history of conquest, they were facing an enemy that seemed to get more dangerous the longer the fight went on. The space battle in the Vorthon Nebula was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships danced through the radiation storms, using the deadly environment as both weapon and shield. The Korthak bioships, masters of adaptation, found themselves facing tactics they had never encountered. Resolute is taking heavy damage, reported Commander Park from the communications station. Captain Oh-jin's frigate was surrounded by 3 Korthak vessels, their organic weapons tearing into his ship's hull. Song, take vigilant and help them out, Captain Lee Hyun ordered. We'll cover you. On it, came Captain Song Yu's reply. Her destroyer rolled through a cloud of radioactive gas, emerging directly behind one of the attacking bioships. Her gunners opened fire with everything they had. The Korthak ship writhed as solid projectiles punched through its living armor. Dark fluid sprayed into space, and the creature ship let out a sound that somehow carried through the vacuum, a psychic scream of pain and rage. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Veltar watched the battle with amazement. Impossible, he whispered. No one hurts the Korthak. They adapt too quickly. Not to kinetic weapons, apparently, Lieutenant Kim Day said, targeting another bioship. They've evolved to handle energy weapons, but good old-fashioned bullets still work. Dr. Yoon Na was monitoring the battle from her science station. Captain, I'm reading some interesting data. The Korthak ships seem to be analyzing our weapons and tactics in real time. They're learning. How fast? Yoon asked. Too fast. At this rate, they'll adapt to our kinetic weapons within the hour. Then we need to finish this before then, Hyun decided. All ships, maximum aggression. Don't give them time to adapt. The human fleet pressed their attack with a ferocity that stunned the watching Vellani. The destroyer Vigilant dove straight through the formation of bioships, guns blazing. Captain Song Yu's fighter pilots launched from her ship, their small craft weaving between the organic vessels like angry wasps. Major Song Yu led her squadron in a direct assault on the largest Korthak ship. Fox Squadron, hit them hard and fast. Don't let up. The fighter craft were too small and quick for the bioship's main weapons. They swarmed around the organic vessels, firing at weak points and exposed systems. The Korthak tried to launch their own fighter organisms, but the human pilots were ready for them. These things fly like they're drunk, called out Lieutenant Ko-un as she dodged a living missile. No creativity, no tactics, just pure aggression. That's because they're not really individuals, Veltar explained over the comm. They're all controlled by the hive mind. They can't think independently. Then let's give them something to think about, Song Yu said. She led her squadron in a coordinated attack on one bioship's weak point, a cluster of sensory organs near what might have been its head. The concentrated fire from 12 human fighters caused the bioship to convulse in apparent agony. Its attacks became wild and unfocused as it tried to protect its damaged sensors. On the Dauntless, Engineer Bei Rin was working frantically to keep the ship's systems running. The radiation from the nebula was playing havoc with their electronics, but somehow the human-built systems kept functioning. How are we still operational in this environment? One of the Vellani asked Dr. Yoon Na. Human technology is built to handle hostile conditions, she explained while treating wounded crew members. Our home planet is very dangerous. We design everything to survive the worst possible situations. Even your medical bay is armored, the alien observed. Of course. You can't help people if your equipment gets destroyed. The battle was turning in humanity's favor, but the cost was high. The frigate Resolute was badly damaged, and several of Song Yu's fighters had been destroyed by Korthak bioweapons. Captain, reported Marine Captain Jang Ho from the security station. I'm reading some kind of transmission from the Korthak. It's not directed at us. What kind of transmission? Looks like they're calling for reinforcements. A lot of reinforcements. Veltar's face went pale. If more Korthak ships come, we will all die. A full swarm is unstoppable. How long before they get here? Hyun asked. Unknown, Park replied. The transmission is going deep into unexplored space. Could be hours, could be days. Then we finish this now, Hyun decided. All ships, concentrate fire on the lead bioship. Take it down. The 3 human vessels focused their attacks on the largest Korthak ship. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds hammered its organic hull, causing massive damage. But even as it died, the bioship was learning. Captain, Kim Day called out urgently. The other bioships are adapting. Their hulls are changing structure to deflect kinetic weapons. How long do we have? Minutes, maybe less. The wounded Korthak ship suddenly split apart, releasing a cloud of what looked like metallic spores. The cloud moved toward the Dauntless with obvious intent. Evasive maneuvers, Hyun ordered. Navigator Choi Min threw the ship into a hard turn, but the spore cloud followed them. "It's tracking us, sir. I can't shake it." "Then we go through it," Hyun said grimly. "All power to forward shields. Ram speed." "Sir?" Choi Min looked shocked. "You heard me. Sometimes the best way around an obstacle is straight through it." The Dauntless accelerated directly into the spore cloud. The metallic organisms splattered against the ship's reinforced hull and shields, trying to burn through the armor. But human engineers had built the ship to survive impacts with asteroids and space debris. A few biological spores weren't going to stop it. The ship burst through the cloud and continued its attack run on the wounded bioship. At point-blank range, the Dauntless opened fire with everything it had. The Korthak vessel convulsed once and then went completely dark. "First kill," reported Kim Dae with satisfaction. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining bioships had completed their adaptation. When the human ships fired their kinetic weapons, the rounds simply bounced off the modified organic armor. "They've adapted," Dr. Yoon Na reported. "Kinetic weapons are no longer effective." "Then we adapt too," Hyun said. He activated the ship-wide comm. "This is the captain. All departments, I need creative solutions now. These aliens can adapt to our weapons, but they can't adapt to tactics they've never seen. What can we do that they won't expect?" "Engineer," Bayrin's voice came back first. "Captain, what if we don't try to destroy them? What if we disable them instead?" "How?" "The nebula's electromagnetic storms. If we can overload their nervous systems with a massive electromagnetic pulse, we might be able to shut them down temporarily." "Can you do it?" "Not with our normal systems. But if we overload our shields and channel the energy back into the nebula, it might work, though it would leave us defenseless for several minutes." Hyun looked at his crew. They all knew the risk. If the plan failed, they would be sitting ducks. "Do it," he ordered. As Engineer Bay-Rin began the dangerous process of overloading the ship's shields, Veltar approached Captain Hyun. "Why do you risk everything for strangers?" the alien asked. "Your own people could die." Hyun watched the bioships moving closer, their adapted armor gleaming in the nebula's light. "Because if we don't fight them here, they'll just move on to the next system. And the next. Someone has to make a stand. Even if you die? Especially if we die. Sometimes the most important victories are the ones that cost everything." The Dauntless began to glow as its shields overloaded, preparing to unleash an electromagnetic storm that would either save them all or destroy them in the attempt. The electromagnetic pulse from the overloaded human shields tore through the Vorthan Nebula like a lightning storm. The Korthak bioships, caught completely off guard, convulsed as the energy overloaded their nervous systems. For precious minutes, the living vessels drifted helplessly through space. "It worked!" shouted Engineer Bay-Rin from his station. "The bioships are dead in space." Captain Lee Hyun didn't waste the opportunity. "All ships, maximum firepower while they're down!" The human fleet unleashed everything they had. Without their adaptive defenses active, the Korthak bioships were vulnerable. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds tore through organic hulls that could no longer repair themselves. One by one, the bioships went dark and began to drift apart. The space around them filled with the strange, dark fluid that served as their blood. "Last target destroyed," reported Lieutenant Kim Dae. "All Korthak. Vessels are down!" The bridge erupted in cheers from the human crew. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the Korthak swarm in open battle. But Veltar, the Vellani scientist, was not celebrating. He stared at the tactical display with a mixture of awe and terror. "You do not understand what you have done," he said quietly. The bridge fell silent. Captain Hyun turned to the alien. "What do you mean? No one has ever defeated the Korthak before. Ever. In all the recorded history of our galaxy, every encounter with the swarm has ended in either flight or consumption. You have just accomplished something that was thought impossible." Dr. Yoon Na frowned. "Isn't that a good thing?" "For the galaxy, yes. But for you—" Veltar paused, choosing his words carefully. "The swarm shares all experiences across their hive mind. Every Korthak ship in the galaxy now knows that humans exist, where you come from, and that you can defeat them." Commander Park looked up from his communications station. "Sir, I'm picking up multiple transmissions heading out from this area. The bioships must have sent detailed reports before they died." "Reports to who?" Hyun asked. "To the rest of the swarm," Veltar answered. "Captain, you have just made humanity the primary target of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They will come for your homeworld with everything they have." The celebration on the bridge died completely. The crew looked at each other as the implications sank in. They had saved the Vellani, but in doing so they had painted a target on Earth. "How long do we have?" Hyun asked. "Unknown. The swarms. Main fleets are far from here, but they will come. And when they do—" Veltar didn't finish the sentence. "Sir," interrupted Park, "I'm receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to speak with us immediately." "The Galactic Council?" Dr. Yoon-Na asked. "I thought they had quarantined human space." "They did," Veltar confirmed. "Your species was considered too dangerous to make contact with. But now they need us," Hyun finished. "Put the transmission through." The main screen flickered and showed a collection of alien faces representing different species from across the galaxy. The central figure was tall and elegant, with silver skin and large, wise eyes. "I am Ambassador Koldane of the Galactic Council," the alien said through the translation system. "We have received reports of an engagement between human vessels and the Korthak swarm. Is this accurate?" "Yes," Hyun replied. "We answered a distress call and found ourselves in combat with 6 bioships. And the outcome? All enemy vessels destroyed. We suffered damage but no casualties." The council members began talking excitedly among themselves in various languages. Ambassador Koldane raised a hand for silence. "Captain, do you understand the significance of what you have accomplished?" "I'm beginning to," Hyun said grimly. "For 300 years, the Korthak swarm has been expanding across our galaxy. They have consumed 47 different species and countless worlds. No military force has ever successfully engaged them in battle and survived." "Until now," Kim Day observed. "Until now," the ambassador agreed. "Captain, the Council wishes to meet with representatives of humanity immediately. We must discuss the formation of a joint defense against the swarm." "What about the quarantine of human space?" Hyun asked. Ambassador Koldane looked uncomfortable. "The quarantine was based on fear. We believed humans were too dangerous to join galactic civilization. We thought you would conquer or destroy everything you encountered. And now? Now we realize that your dangerous nature might be exactly what the galaxy needs to survive." After the transmission ended, the bridge was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Veltar spoke up. My people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved our lives and asked for nothing in return. We did what anyone would do, Hyun said. No, Veltar replied firmly. No one else would have come. No one else would have fought. The galaxy has lived in fear of the Korthak for so long that we forgot how to resist them. But humans seem to be immune to that fear. Dr. Yoon Na was studying the battle reports. Captain, I think I understand why we were able to defeat them. The Korthak are used to fighting species that value individual survival above all else. When things get bad, most aliens retreat to save themselves. But humans don't retreat, Marine Captain Jang Ho said as he entered the bridge. We get stubborn. The worse things get, the harder we fight. Exactly. The Korthak's adaptation abilities are designed to counter enemies who try to minimize their losses. They've never faced an enemy that's willing to take risks, to sacrifice for others. Navigator Choi Min looked up from his station. Sir, I'm plotting a course back to human space, but we're going to have company. What kind of company? Multiple alien ships are approaching our position. They're not hostile, they're flying peaceful approach patterns. On the main screen, dozens of ships from different species were converging on their location. Some looked like the Vellani crystal ships, others were completely different designs. They're all survivors, Veltar realized. Ships that escaped Korthak attacks. Word is spreading that humans actually fought the swarm and won. Park was monitoring the communications from the approaching fleet. Sir, they're all requesting permission to join us. They want to travel with us back to human space. Why? Because they believe humans can protect them. For the first time in centuries, they have hope. Captain Hyun looked out at the growing fleet of alien refugees. Each ship represented a species that had been terrorized by the Korthak, people who had given up hope of ever fighting back. Set course for Earth, he ordered. All ships are welcome to accompany us. As the mixed fleet prepared to leave the Vorthon Nebula, Veltar approached the captain one more time. You realize this changes everything, the alien said. Humanity can no longer hide in isolation. The galaxy knows about you now. Good, Hyun replied. Maybe it's time we stopped hiding. Are you ready for what comes next? The responsibility of leading the fight against the swarm? Hyun looked at his crew, then at the alien refugees they had saved. I don't know if we're ready, but someone has to do it, and it looks like that someone is us. The Dauntless led the growing fleet out of the nebula and into open space, carrying with them the hope of dozens of species and the knowledge that humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. Behind them, the Vorthon Nebula continued its eternal dance of gas and lightning, now holding the wreckage of what had once seemed invincible. And somewhere in the depths of space, the rest of the Korthak swarm was learning about a new enemy that refused to run, refused to surrender, and refused to let others die alone. Earth had never seen anything like it. The mixed fleet of human and alien ships approached the Sol system like a small armada, carrying refugees from dozens of species and news that would change everything. Admiral Shin Ai stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the approaching ships with a mixture of pride and worry. The reports from Captain Lee Hyun had been hard to believe. Humans had not only made contact with alien civilizations, but had fought and defeated the most feared enemy in the galaxy. Admiral, called Communications Officer Lim Wu, we're receiving approach requests from 47 alien vessels. They're requesting sanctuary and diplomatic status. 47 ships? Shin Ai shook her head in amazement. 3 days ago, we were alone in the universe. Now we're hosting refugees from across the galaxy. General Quan Do entered the command center, carrying a stack of data tablets. Admiral, we have a problem. These aliens are all fleeing something, called the Korthak Swarm. According to the reports, this swarm now considers humanity a primary threat. Because we helped their victims? Because we proved they could be defeated. The aliens are calling it the first victory against the swarm in 300 years. Shin-A studied the tactical displays showing the approaching fleet. Each alien ship represented a different species, a different culture, a different way of looking at the universe, and they had all come to Earth seeking protection. "What's our defensive status?" she asked. "The defense fleet is at full readiness," General Quan Do replied. "But Admiral, we're not talking about defending against conventional enemies. According to these reports, the Korthak use living ships that can adapt to any weapon. Our normal tactics won't work. Then we develop new tactics. Contact Captain Hyun and have him report to Earth Command immediately. If anyone understands how to fight these things, it's him." On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Hyun was dealing with his own problems. The ship's corridors were filled with alien refugees, each with different environmental needs. Dr. Yoon Na and her medical team were working around the clock to provide care for species they had never encountered before. "Captain," reported Engineer Bayrin, "we're running low on atmospheric mix for the Zephyrian refugees. Their ship's life support failed completely. Can we synthesize what they need?" "Working on it, sir. But we're learning alien biochemistry on the fly." Lieutenant Yu Bin, who had been assigned as Cultural Liaison Officer, approached with a data pad. "Sir, we've got 17 different species aboard, each with different dietary requirements, atmospheric needs, and social customs. 3 of them can't even be in the same room together due to historical conflicts. Are they fighting? No, sir. That's the strange part. They're all cooperating because they're grateful to be alive. Apparently, being rescued by humans has given them something to unite around." Veltar, the Vellani scientist, had become the unofficial spokesman for the alien refugees. He found Captain Hyun in the ship's main cargo bay, which had been converted into temporary quarters for the Silicarn miners whose rocky ship had been too damaged to continue. "Captain," Veltar said, "my people would like to offer something to humanity in return for your kindness." "That's not necessary," Hyun replied. "We didn't save you expecting payment, which is exactly why we wish to help. Captain, my species has been studying galactic history for thousands of years. We know things about the Korthak that might be useful." "What kind of things?" "The swarm was not always as it is now. They were once individual beings, much like us, but they chose to sacrifice their individuality to become something more powerful. The transformation made them nearly unstoppable, but it also gave them a weakness." Hyun was immediately interested. "What weakness?" "They cannot truly understand individual thinking. Everything they do is based on collective decision-making. They analyze group behavior, mass psychology, fleet tactics, but they have trouble predicting what a single person might do when acting alone." "That's why your ambush tactics worked," Veltar continued. "You made decisions that a group mind could not predict because they were based on individual initiative and creative thinking. This information was passed up to Earth Command, where teams of strategists were working around the clock to develop new military doctrines. The challenge was enormous. How do you train an entire military to fight an enemy that adapts to everything you do? Admiral Shin-I called a meeting of Earth's top military leaders. The conference room at Earth Command was packed with generals, admirals, and scientists, all studying reports from the battle in the Vorthan Nebula. "The aliens call it the Deathworlder doctrine," General Quan Do explained to the assembled officers. "The idea that humans fight differently because we evolved in conditions that would kill most other species. Different how? Asked General Park Jun, commander of Earth's Marine Corps. We take risks that other species consider suicidal. We fight when we're outnumbered. We don't retreat when logic says we should. To most galactic species, this looks like insanity. But to the Korthak, added Dr. Han Sol, Earth's leading xenobiologist, it's completely unpredictable. They've adapted to fight rational, logical enemies. They don't know how to handle enemies who refuse to be rational. Admiral Shin Ae looked around the room. So our strategy is to be unpredictable? More than that, said Captain Song Yu, who had returned from the Vorthan Nebula with commendations for her performance in the battle. Our strategy is to be human, to fight like humans, think like humans, and refuse to give up like humans. What does that mean in practical terms? Song Yu activated a holographic display showing the battle with the Korthak. It means small unit, tactics instead of fleet actions. It means individual initiative instead of rigid command structures. It means being willing to sacrifice ships and lives to achieve objectives. That last part worries me, General Quan Do said. It should, Song At replied, because it's going to be necessary. The Korthak don't understand sacrifice for others. They've consumed species that value individual survival above all else. They don't know how to fight people who are willing to die for strangers. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication from the approaching refugee fleet. Ambassador Lim Wu, who had been assigned to handle first contact protocols, appeared on the main screen. Admiral, we have a situation. The Galactic Council has sent a diplomatic mission to Earth. They want to establish formal relations immediately. How many ships? 12 vessels representing the major galactic powers. They're requesting permission to enter the Sol system. Admiral Shin Ai looked at her staff. 3 days ago, the biggest decision they faced was whether to increase patrols in the asteroid belt. Now they were dealing with galactic diplomacy and preparing for war against a species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Grant them permission, she decided, but maintain full military readiness. We don't know if all these aliens are friendly. Admiral, added General Quan Do, there's something else. The refugee ships are asking if they can establish permanent settlements in human space. They want to build colonies under our protection. They want to live here, on human worlds? Not exactly. They want to build their own colonies, but within the defensive perimeter of human space. They believe humanity is their best chance for survival against the Korthak. Shin-A realized that Earth was facing a decision that would shape the future of human civilization. They could remain isolated and safe, or they could accept the responsibility of protecting dozens of alien species. What do you think, General? She asked Quan Do. I think we don't have a choice, Admiral. The Korthak are coming whether we want them to or not. We can face them alone, or we can face them with allies. Even if those allies are depending on us to protect them, especially, then, Admiral, for the first time in galactic history, species are uniting against the Korthak instead of just running from them. If we can hold this alliance together, we might actually have a chance. Admiral Shin Ai looked out the window at Earth, blue and peaceful in the distance. Soon, that peace would be shattered. But maybe, just maybe, they could build something better from the pieces. Send word to Captain Hyun, she ordered. Tell him to escort the refugees to Mars orbit. We're going to need a lot more space for our new neighbors. As the mixed fleet approached Earth, every human in the solar system could feel that everything was about to change. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic war was about to begin. The message came through the deep space communication network, like a scream of rage. Every monitoring station in human space picked up the transmission at the same time. The Korthak swarm was coming, and they were bringing everything they had. Admiral Shin I stood in the Earth Command Center, watching tactical displays that showed the approaching enemy fleet. The numbers were terrifying. 300 bioships of various sizes, all heading straight for the Volani homeworld of Viridian Prime. "They're not coming for us yet," reported Intelligence Officer Colonel Yu Min. "They're going after our allies first. Classic divide-and-conquer strategy." "Time to arrival at Viridian Prime?" Shin A asked. 48 hours at their current speed," replied Navigator Specialist Captain Choi In. General Quan Du looked grim as he studied the enemy formations. "Admiral, this is the largest Korthak fleet ever assembled according to Galactic Council records. They're throwing everything they have at this fight, because they know this is their chance to destroy the resistance before it can spread," added Dr. Han Sol, who had been studying Korthak psychology with the help of the alien refugees. "If they can crush the Volani and defeat us in the same battle, it will prove to the galaxy that cooperation with humans is pointless." Captain Lee Hyun entered the command center, still wearing the uniform he had barely had time to change after returning from the Vorthon Nebula. Behind him came Veltar, the Volani scientist who had become humanity's most important advisor on Korthak tactics. "Admiral," Hyun said, "the refugee fleet is requesting permission to join the battle." "They want to fight?" Shin I was surprised. "I thought most galactic species avoided conflict with the Korthak." "They did," Veltar confirmed. "But something has changed. Your people have shown them that the Korthak can be defeated. For the first time in centuries, they have hope instead of fear." "How many ships are we talking about?" 47 alien vessels of various types, plus whatever the Galactic Council is sending," Hyun reported. "It's not much against 300 bioships. But it's more than anyone has ever assembled to fight the Korthak before," Veltar finished. "Admiral, my people are going to fight whether you help them or not. They would rather die fighting beside humans than live as refugees while their world burns." Admiral Shin A looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet. 57 ships total, including everything from massive battleships to small patrol vessels. It was the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled, but against 300 adapted bioships, the odds were not good. "Admiral," said General Quan Do quietly, "we could let them fight this battle alone. Preserve our forces for the defense of Earth. It would be the logical choice." "The logical choice," Shin I repeated. "What's the human choice?" "The human choice is that you don't abandon people who trusted you," Captain Hyun said simply. "Even if it means risking everything, especially then." Shin I made her decision. "Signal the fleet. All available ships are to rendezvous at Viridian Prime. We're going to fight." The journey to the Volani homeworld took 36 hours at maximum speed. The human fleet traveled in formation with their alien allies, sharing tactical data and coordinating strategies. It was the first time in galactic history that so many different species had worked together for a common military goal. Captain Song Yu commanded the destroyer Vigilant, which had been repaired and upgraded with new weapons, designed specifically for fighting bioships. Her crew included volunteers from 3 different alien species, all determined to strike back at their tormentors. "Captain," reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim Soo, "the Korthak fleet has arrived at Viridian Prime. They're beginning. Orbital bombardment of the major cities. How long until we arrive? 6 hours at current speed. Song Yu looked at the mixed crew on her bridge. Humans worked alongside Volani technicians, Zephyrian navigators, and Altarian communications specialists. It should have been chaos, but somehow it was working. Signal the fleet, she ordered. All ships prepare for maximum acceleration. We're not going to let them destroy that world while we watch. The human fleet pushed their engines beyond safe limits, racing to reach the battle before the Volani homeworld was completely destroyed. Behind them, the alien refugee ships followed, their crews determined to fight for their first real chance at revenge. Fleet Admiral Shin Ae commanded from the flagship Indomitable, the largest and most powerful ship in human space. Her bridge was a mixture of human technology and alien improvements, upgrades that had been installed during the journey by grateful refugees. Admiral, reported Communications Officer Park Woo, we're receiving transmissions from the surface of Viridian Prime. The planetary defense forces are still fighting, but they won't last much longer. Signal from the Korthak fleet, added Lieutenant Bei Jun from Sensors. They're demanding our surrender. They say if we turn back now, they'll only enslave our worlds instead of destroying them completely. Send them our reply, Shin-Ae ordered. Tell them humans don't negotiate with bullies. The battle began before the human fleet even reached the Viridian system. Long-range sensors detected Korthak scout ships moving to intercept them. Biovessels sent to probe their defenses and gather intelligence. Major Song Yu led the fighter, squadrons in the first engagement, her pilots diving into the enemy formation with a recklessness that shocked their alien allies. Fox Leader, you're heading straight into their defensive screen, warned a Volani pilot flying escort. That's the idea, Song Yu replied, rolling her fighter to avoid a stream of bioplasma. They're not expecting a frontal assault. All fighters, hit them hard and fast. The human pilots tore through the Korthak scouts like a storm of metal and fury. The bioships tried to adapt, but the fighters were already moving to their next targets before the adaptation could take effect. First wave destroyed, reported Captain Ko-un as her squadron regrouped. But they transmitted everything they learned to the main fleet. Then we'd better make sure the next wave learns something different, Song Yu replied. As the human fleet entered the Viridian system, they could see the devastation the Korthak had already caused. 3 of the planet's major cities were burning, and the orbital defense platforms had been reduced to debris. But the Volani were still fighting. Their crystalline ships darted between the massive bioships, using their speed and agility to avoid the worst of the Korthak firepower. This is Admiral Velkorth of the Volani Defense Fleet, came a transmission on the emergency frequency. Human vessels, thank the stars you came. We have perhaps 1 hour before our defenses collapse completely. This is Admiral Shin-Ae of V. The Terran Defense Fleet, she replied. We're here to help. Transmit your tactical data and prepare for coordinated attack. The combined fleet spread out across the system, human ships taking positions alongside their alien allies. It was a sight that had never been seen before in galactic history. Dozens of species working together to fight a common enemy. All ships, Admiral Shin-Ae announced over the fleet communication network. Today, we're not fighting just for Viridian Prime. We're fighting to prove that the galaxy doesn't have to live in fear anymore. The Korthak want us to believe they're unbeatable. Let's show them they're wrong. The bioships of the Korthak swarm turned to face this new threat, their living hulls pulsing with anticipation. They had crushed every enemy they had ever faced. They had adapted to every weapon, every tactic, every strategy, but they had never faced an enemy that included humans, and humans, as the galaxy was about to learn, had a talent for doing the impossible when someone needed saving. The Battle of Viridian Prime was about to begin, and the fate of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The Battle of Viridian Prime became the largest space engagement in recorded galactic history. 300 Korthak bioships faced a combined fleet of humans and aliens that should have been destroyed in the first hour. Instead, the battle raged for 3 days across multiple star systems. Admiral Shin A watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as her fleet engaged the enemy in tactics that no military academy had ever taught. Human ships fought alongside alien vessels in formations that changed constantly, refusing to let the Korthak adapt to any single strategy. "Resolute is taking heavy damage," reported Communications Officer Park Woo. Captain Oh-jin's ship was surrounded by 5 bioships, their organic weapons tearing into his hull. "Vigilant and Dauntless moved to assist," Shin-A ordered. But even as she spoke, she knew it might be too late. Captain Oh-jin's voice came over the calm despite the chaos around his ship. "Admiral, my engines are gone and weapons are offline. But I've still got one thing that works." "Captain, do not attempt a ramming run. That's an order." "Sorry, Admiral. Sometimes orders get lost in all this interference." The frigate Resolute turned directly toward the largest bioship in the group attacking it. The Korthak vessel tried to move away, but it was too close and too massive to escape in time. The collision shattered both ships. The bioship convulsed as the human frigate tore through its living hull, causing massive damage before both vessels broke apart in a ball of fire and organic debris. "Resolute destroyed," reported Sensors Officer Lieutenant Bae Jun quietly. "No survivors." The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then Admiral Shin-A activated the fleet communication system. "All ships. This is Admiral Shin-A. Captain Oh-jin and the crew of the Resolute have just shown us something important. They chose to sacrifice themselves to save others. That's what humans do. That's what makes us different from the Korthak. We don't fight just to survive. We fight so others can live." Across the fleet, the response was immediate. Human ships began taking greater risks, making moves that looked suicidal but achieved tactical objectives. Alien crews, inspired by human courage, found themselves fighting with the determination they had never felt before. Captain Song-Yu led a desperate attack on a cluster of bioships that were moving to attack the Villani homeworld directly. Her destroyer Vigilant was badly damaged, but she pressed the attack anyway. "All fighters, concentrate on the lead bioship," she ordered. "We need to stop them from reaching the planet." Major Song-Yu and her squadron dove into the enemy formation, their small craft weaving between streams of bioplasma. The Korthak had adapted to human fighter tactics, but the pilots kept changing their approach patterns. "Fox leader, they're predicting our moves," called Captain Ko-un as she dodged a burst of organic fire. "Then let's do something they can't predict," Song-Yu replied. She aimed her fighter directly at the bioship's sensory cluster. "All fighters, follow me in. Maximum firepower, point-blank range." "That's suicide, Major." "Maybe, but it's also the last thing they'll expect." The fighter squadron followed their leader in what looked like a hopeless attack. But at the last second, they scattered in different directions, confusing the bioship's targeting systems. Their concentrated fire hit the creature's nerve center, causing it to convulse in apparent agony. The bioship's death throes took out 2 more Korthak vessels as it spun out of control, its weapons firing wildly in all directions. On the surface of Viridian Prime, The remaining population watched the battle in their skies with amazement. They had been preparing to die, but now they dared to hope that they might survive. Commander Park Soo was in charge of the communications array on the Dauntless when he detected something that changed everything. "Captain Hyun," he called urgently, "I'm picking up massive energy readings from the Korthak command ship. They're preparing some kind of superweapon." Captain Lee Hyun studied the readings. The largest bioship in the enemy fleet was glowing, with an energy that could only mean one thing. They're going to destroy the planet, he realized. If they can't have it, they'll make sure no one can. Time to full charge? Less than 10 minutes. Hyun activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. The Korthak are preparing to destroy Viridian Prime. We're going to stop them. I know the odds are against us, but that's never stopped humans before." The Dauntless turned toward the enemy command ship, its engines straining to reach maximum speed. Behind it came a fleet of human and alien vessels, all determined to prevent the destruction of an entire world. The Korthak command ship was enormous, larger than any vessel in the human fleet. Its bioweapon charged with energy that would crack a planet's crust and boil its oceans. Nothing could survive such an attack. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel," Admiral Shin Ai ordered. "Everything we have," the combined fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, and exotic alien weapons all struck the massive bioship. But its defenses held, adapted specifically to handle the weapons being used against it. "We're not penetrating their armor," reported Captain Song Yu. "The bioship has adapted to everything we're throwing at it." Commander Park Soo was monitoring the enemy communications when he discovered something crucial. "Captain, I'm detecting coordination signals between the bioships. They're all linked together in a network." "What kind of network?" "It looks like they share sensory data and tactical information instantly. That's how they adapt so quickly to our weapons." Captain Hyun had an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. "Park, can you hack into their network?" "Sir." "If they share information, maybe we can share some information with them. Something they won't like." Park worked frantically at his console while the Dauntless raced toward the command ship. "I think I can do it, sir, but I'll need to get very close to their main communication array." "How close?" "Ramming distance." Hyun looked around at his crew. They all knew what he was asking of them. They could try to save the planet, but it would cost them their lives. Engineer Bae Rin's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, if we overload our main computer core and transmit it into their network, it might cause a system-wide failure." "Might?" "It's never been tried before, sir, but if it works, their entire fleet would lose coordination for several minutes. Long enough for the other ships to destroy the command vessel?" "Maybe." Dr. Yoon Na spoke up from her station. "Captain, there are over 300 people on this ship. Are we really going to sacrifice all of them for a maybe?" Hyun looked at her seriously. "Doctor, there are 6 billion people on Viridian Prime. If we don't try this, they all die for certain." The crew of the Dauntless looked at each other, then at their captain. They had all volunteered for this mission knowing it was dangerous, but none of them had expected to face a choice like this. "Sir," said Veltar, the Valani scientist, "my people will remember this sacrifice forever. You are giving your lives for a world that is not even your own." "That's what humans do," Lieutenant Kim Dae said simply. "We protect people who can't protect themselves." The Dauntless accelerated toward the Korthak command ship, its computer core building to a dangerous overload. The massive bioship turned its weapons toward them, but Captain Hyun kept his ship on course. "All hands, prepare for impact," he announced. "It's been an honor serving with you." At the last second, Commander Park Sue transmitted their overloaded computer system directly into the Korthak communication network. The alien hive mind, designed to share information instantly, was suddenly flooded with chaotic human data that it couldn't process. Across the enemy fleet, bioships began to convulse as their network crashed. Their perfect coordination turned into confusion and panic. The Dauntless struck the command ship just as its planet-killing weapon reached full charge. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. "Command ship destroyed," reported Captain Song Yu from the Vigilant. "The superweapon is gone." But the victory came at a terrible cost. The Dauntless and its entire crew were gone, including Captain Lee Hyun and Commander Park Sue. They had given their lives to save a world they barely knew. The remaining Korthak fleet, leaderless and confused, began to retreat. For the first time in their history, the swarm had been not just defeated, but driven off completely. Admiral Shin Ai looked at the tactical display showing the fleeing bioships. The battle was won, but the cost had been enormous. 12 human ships destroyed, thousands of lives lost. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Yu Bin, "we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Word of our victory is spreading to every inhabited system." "What are they saying?" "That the age of Korthak terror is over. That the galaxy has finally found protectors willing to fight for strangers." On the surface of Viridian Prime, the surviving population emerged from their shelters to see the stars clearly for the first time in days. The Korthak fleet was gone, driven away by beings they had never met who had sacrificed everything to save them. Veltar, now aboard the flagship Indomitable, stood beside Admiral Shin Ai as they watched the last of the Korthak bioships disappear into deep space. "They will be back," he said quietly. "The swarm does not forgive, and they do not forget."